lives inside of us. Is that what you're saying there, Mandy?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think the foundation always begins with us. You know, the found I and taking responsibility for that as well. And when I think about, even myself in relationships, it was so easy to enter into a toxic relationship and blame the other person and feeling like I didn't need to change because the problem wasn't with me. And because I didn't think the problem was with me, I always stayed the same. I didn't change anything about myself. So taking responsibility for the choices that you make it was a huge awakening for me to say, no, my failed relationships is a result of my choices. It was the result of the way that I was showing up. I cannot put the blame on somebody else that I have no control over. And so that made me feel empowered, that feeling like I'm not always at the effect of everything, that I can be the cause. It just made me feel like I have some say in my story and how I want this to really unravel and show up.
So that was a big moment, that moment of, it is about me. And I think, for me personally, I was a very big blamer. I blamed everybody and everything from a very young age. It was never my fault. It was without a doubt learned behaviour, and it became very much part of me. And I truly believe that nothing was my fault. It had to be somebody else's. It couldn't possibly be mine. Even as an adult, subconsciously still blaming my parents. It's just nonsense, but I was. So I can totally relate with that. And it isn't until you get that moment of, yes, I did this, I messed up, okay, what am I going to do about it now? And I think this affects a lot of young people growing up today where, they're not able, for whatever reason, to take responsibility for their actions. And it keeps us, as you say, very small and not being ourselves. At the end of the day, we're not really being true, to ourselves. Yeah. I just want to touch on a little bit here, because you said about toxic relationships, and I come across a lot of people in my business, and I'm sure you do, who fall into, or it happens, or they choose, or for whatever reason they are in really destructive, toxic relationships. And was this part and parcel for you?
Yeah, that was like the story of my life. That was what I was telling people. Everyone who knew me growing up knew that they said, you have the worst luck in relationships. And then I kind of believed that story as well, thinking it had to do with luck, and thinking that I just attracted the wrong men. But thinking about it now, and realizing how I was showing up, and how I have this tendency to play it safe, I realized that attracting toxic men was actually a way that made me feel more, what I thought was more empowered. If I always dated bad men who didn't treat me right, then the fault would never be mine. I would never be the one messing up. I'd much rather them mess up than to feel like I messed up. So I realize now that I probably unconsciously picked men that I had to fix, or that I knew, was a little rough around the edges, because unconsciously it kind of boosted my ego to feel like it can never be me. And I think that was my fear.
So that was, again, like the blame game. Anything that goes wrong, it's not about me. It's got to be about them. They're these bad guys, and you are, trying to be the perfect one there. So yeah, it was a great strategy, and you proved it. And once you prove these things, they become beliefs, don't they? So yeah, listeners out there, that is, and I'm sure, and I can think of a few people at the moment who are really suffering in this way, where they are choosing, and they don't know why, and you don't think you are. Of course you don't think you are. It's all going on in the subconscious, isn't it? But perhaps if you're out there and, listening right now, think of your relationship right now. Is it a toxic relationship? Is it destructive? Is it unhappy? Is it not serving you? And what choices are you making? Are you in the blame game? Because, Mandy and I really know how you feel, because we were there, we've been there, we've done it, and we felt the pain. So, if you're there right now, there's massive hope for you out there, listeners, because, you don't have to be like that. You really don't have to be like that. And one of the smartest things I've learned from people, people who've been successful in all areas of their life, all different areas, is it's actually a really smart thing is to ask for help, or to find out things that other people, can do, that, bits and pieces if you're struggling with. It's actually smarter to get out there and ask for help. So don't struggle on your own. There's always help out there. So yeah, God, Mandy, there's so much I can relate to you on so many different levels, but so many similar feelings. We've been through a lot of similar stuff across the other side of the world. So I'm sure there's lots of others out there too. So how did you really get into coaching? Coaching as the business that you've created. How did you get into it all?
Yeah, so I actually feel like life coaching found me, because I had absolutely no intention to be a life coach. My sister-in-law actually was the one who joined a life coaching the life coaching program that I trained at with IPEC, and she was able to bring a guest for the first module, and it was a 3-day event. And when she asked me, I like to tell people, I reluctantly agreed. I remember telling people like, oh my God, I can't believe I said yes to this. It's going to be 3 full days. I'm only there to support her. And I realized that my resistance came from a lot of fear. The fear that I was going to love this process, and that it would really, really disrupt my very safe 5-year plan that I had for myself. And that 5-year plan really included, hopefully a couple of mat leaves and a promotion. I was working at a company that just gave great benefits, great pension, and people die to get into to my current job, to my current what I was doing before. And so I realized that weekend after I left that not only did I like it, I loved it. And the gift it gave me was options. I realized my life had options. It had more than what I had envisioned for myself that was very safe. It gave me this newfound sense of trust that I really could do anything that I put my mind to. And if there's something that I'm very passionate about, it is to not only share my story, but for women to really begin embracing theirs. So I ended up, enrolling fully into the coach training program and got certified. So it's been quite a journey, but the best investment that I've ever made, even just for myself, like I thought I was so self-aware even before going into the program, and coming out of that, I realized I was only scratching the surface of who I was. And I realize now that, personal development is a lifelong journey. We will continue to dig and scratch the surface and go deeper and deeper. But it really, really catapulted a deeper learning about who I am. And that was amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I can, I think there's the more I learn, Mandy, and I've just been developing my NLP. Do you know NLP, neuro-linguistic programming?
Yes, I've been thinking about doing that as well. Like maybe next year, I was thinking about looking into programs.
Right, I've just done Richard Bandler's program. I've just done my master practitioner. And NLP is a fantastic tool. But when you get into, the more and more I learn, the more and more I realize I don't know. I know very, very little, yet the more I learn, you think I'm becoming a lot more knowledgeable. But there is, it's just never ending, and I've got such a thirst for it. But yeah, NLP is a fantastic tool. It really gets you to understand things that are really going deep into the subconscious, because I'm a hypnotherapist as well. And this is another tool that can really help us using the language. You know, it really changes our inner dialogue, because when we change our inner dialogue, it changes the outside world. There's a great book by Tim Galway called The Inner Game, and the inner game is that little, what you were talking about earlier today, that chatter, that inner critic that we have, that conversation with ourselves. And there's two players going on in our mind, the doer and the teller, the I and myself, and that's all we do. We play this game, you know, and this conversation goes backwards and forwards, and it's normally surrounded by self-doubt, low self-esteem, nervousness, procrastination, all of these things that, you know, that don't make us feel good, and as you say, keep us small and stuff. And until we change that, we'll never change really the external world. So it's a great thing to look at if you get the chance. NLP is a wonderful tool to put in your toolbox, as it were. So yeah, good. So how did you actually get into your niche of how you've niched it down? What would you say your niche is?
I would say my niche really is to help women change that narrative of I'm not good enough to really becoming unapologetic for who they are. I'm personally an introvert, and I notice that those are the types of people that I also attract. We're quite shy, and and I mean, not all introverts, but I mean, I remember growing up, I still remember my report card. My kindergarten teacher wrote, "I sometimes forget that Mandy is in my class," because I was just so quiet. But I know that there's so many of us that have this voice, you know, we have so much to share. We have so much value to give. And it literally, it breaks my heart when I think about women not speaking up and speaking their truth and sharing who they are. And that's kind of been a theme that I've experienced throughout my life. And now that I'm, you know, really practicing, you know, playing it big, I feel like it's not as scary as I thought. There is definitely moments where my inner critic is loud and clear, but I mean, I would not trade this feeling for the world. So just to be able to really find my authentic voice, share it, be unapologetic for it. And I think that the reason why we don't is because of this core narrative of I'm not good enough. And it could be I'm not good enough in relationships. I'm not lovable enough when in intimate relationships. I'm not pretty enough, smart enough. You know, the inner critic says so many things, but I think the overall theme is about not feeling enough. And that's how I found my niche, because I was really trying to find the common thread that held everything together. Because it's not just, you know, sharing my, being a life coach or showing up or stepping up on stage that I struggled with, or being a perfectionist. It was also a huge part of it was the relationship piece. A huge part of it was feeling not worthy enough, and feeling like I needed to be saved. You know, I think I kind of believed a lot of those, you know, Disney movie fairy tales where the man saves the woman. And I think I was waiting for that to happen to me, which again was not fair for the men that I was dating, you know, and that was a part of me also taking responsibility, is that no man is responsible to make me feel whole, to save me. I need to save myself. And therefore I will show up in a way that's going to attract the right man for myself. So it's that idea of feeling enough and good enough in what I do and what I say.
I love your niche. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. And so important as well. I just want to know a little bit more, and I'm sure our listeners do as well, because you mentioned the Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner. I've never heard of that. What is that around? Well, I might have done. I might know if you explain a little bit, but I haven't actually heard of that as a